to eat my little snack. So I had to do it right now. Anybody else deal with blood sugar issues? I got hypoglycemia. Yeah, I saw something going on. You can also call it hangry, right? Hangry. And my brain is didn't have sugar, so I might have a little snack later, but good to see y'all. You know, coming together, you know, we all come a little different. It's probably a little different for me coming to church than it is for you coming to church, right? Because I have to preach. So my headspace is different, but I have to say, you know, it's just good to be together. It's good to come together. It's good to come in the Lord's presence. And it's my desire, coming together, you know, my headspace, and of course I'm thinking about, you know, what the Lord's put on my heart. But I'm also thinking about how good it is to come together in fellowship in the name of the Lord and come intentionally in God's Spirit. Some of the thoughts I want to encourage you. We've had a little plumber group lately. Is that the right word, plumber? Is that okay? You know, and I think it's God's Spirit moving in our hearts. You know, God's love, His goodness is here. But I want to encourage you to keep coming. You know, when we invite people, or maybe when you go to a church or go somewhere and people are there, there is a spirit. You know, it's your spirit. Of course, we want it to be the Lord's Spirit, but it's our, you know, energy, our presence in the Lord's presence. But when we invite a person to come, if you, by the way, next Sabbath is visitation Sabbath, right? Visitor Sabbath. So I encourage you, please. This is a good excuse. You have people in your lives that don't go to church, maybe don't know the Lord, or maybe you're on the fence. Next Sabbath is the excuse to invite somebody to church. Please be thinking, be intentional. If you don't do it, nobody will. Right? If you don't invite somebody, nobody will. It's us. So invite somebody next week. And that goes back to what I was saying earlier is, if we're going to invite people, we're going to have community. We want to invite people into the community, right? We want to have a community. We want to be a community of love and kindness where God's Spirit is resting. So please be devoted to our congregation. And I have to say, we've been praying. I've been praying. You've been praying. The world is changing very fast. And I believe, like I said, I believe we're about to see the harvest, like the harvest, right? It's amazing. I believe this is the time we live. And so if we are devoted to the Lord, number one, and devoted to each other, that's a place that somebody out in the world, in the community, people around are saying, have you heard people outside of the church saying like, oh, something's going on, something's different, something's not right in the world today. So let's be a community where we can invite somebody and they can come find home, right? They can come home, they can find love, they can find community, and most of all, they can find the Spirit of the Lord. They can find God, and they can find Jesus, our Savior. So, a couple announcements. One was next Sabbath, Visitor Sabbath. Please be thinking about that this week. Invite somebody, invite several people. You know, I just invite people I know, and if they come, great. If they don't, at least you invited them, right? And again, you can blame it on your pastor, blame it on me. You know, if you don't have to, if it's not, if you want to pass the buck, oh, my pastor is, you know, I have to do this, so can you please come so I won't get in trouble. You know? And another thing is, I meant to tell you this, say this last week, but I know it's not super recognizable, but do you notice the walls? It's those of you who maybe are observant, do you remember how the walls used to be like cracked and smudged? Look at the walls. Look back there. There's no crack back there. And if you look up here, there's still some stuff. Barry Painter is his name. Painter, Mr. Painter. He's finishing up. And up here, we're going to kind of do a little contrast, kind of a light contrast. So it looks better on Franco. It's kind of brightened up and fixed that. I wanted to just bring your attention to that. I think that's all I wanted to say. Let's pray. Father, I thank you so much for being God. And Lord, it's such a blessing to have a God that is good. And probably, one of my greatest desires is that people come to know you, that you are good. There's so much confusion and so much heartache in the world. And Lord, you are a God who is good and who wants to heal and wants to save. So I pray today that as we go through some things, may your kingdom, your character shine out, and may we come again to be reminded. And Lord, I pray also that you would give us words as the world is changing, people's hearts and minds are going to be open more and more. Lord, use today's words to give us words, to know how to communicate with people, to point people to you and point people to the truth. Thank you, Jesus. Come be with us right now. Open our hearts and minds in your name. Amen.
Yeah.
All right, so today's title, Who is Your King? So much. This is kind of on the lines of the three angels message. Where my mind and heart is lately, I said a little bit last week, and I've said it a long time, and I believe that we are witnessing the final days in Earth's history. And I know that's kind of maybe abused those ideas, or sometimes people get the idea of Jesus is coming soon, and we want to condemn or hammer people, shape up because Jesus is coming soon, and so the church sometimes, or it's sensationalism. Jesus is coming and he doesn't come, and so we kind of retreat a little bit. Even I'm a little like, Lord, help us to be appropriate in talking about these subjects, because you can't just walk up and say, it's the end. People don't get that, but somewhere there's a balance to where I believe now is the time, and in our prayer life and trying to figure out ways to communicate with people appropriately. The Bible makes sense. I love God's Word because, one of the guys, actually last visitor set, I invited a guy, and he said some neat things. He said he likes reading the Bible. He's not necessarily a Christian yet, and he moved away now, but he said he liked reading the Bible because it makes sense of the world. And that's one of the things I love about God's Word is because, especially as Seventh-day Adventists, and most here are probably Seventh-day Adventists, I don't know exactly your background, but are Seventh-day Adventists and have an understanding, a clue of the three angels' message and stuff. And a lot of people don't. And as Adventists, we have a blessed gift. And this is where my mind's been. We see the chaos in the world. We see the climate change, all the natural disasters, the political scene, the anger, social media, and just so much weirdness going on right now, right? You see that stuff going on in the world today? And as Adventists, in my perspective, it's not surprising to me. Like I said, God's Word, it clarifies. I know what's going on in the world today. God told us it's going to happen, this is going to happen. And so I think it's going to be more and more, our Adventist message is going to be very, like the rubber meets the road, right? It's like, what's the purpose of our church? We've been preaching this message. But like never before, the three angels message, the message of our church, our understanding of the prophetic gift that we have is going to make a difference in the world today. So we have that knowledge. It's a blessing to me personally, and it's going to be a blessing to those who are in relationship with. We have this knowledge. So I'm going to go through real quickly kind of the three angels message again with some thoughts, and then we're going to look at in chapter 6 of Luke, the distinction between the kingdoms. And this idea of who's your king, our mindset, the way we participate in life, and our practice in life, really it all comes down, it flows down from who we worship. Who's our king? Where do we get our set of values and our set of ideas? Where do we get our practices that we do in life? Where does these ideas come from? And so the idea of who's your king or who you worship is the central piece that all life flows from. So who's your king? So the idea of worship. Who is your king? Bring us a message. Then I saw another angel flying in midair, and he had the what? Eternal gospel. Now what's the word gospel mean? Good news. And this is so vital. I called a lady this week. Is Darlene Snipes here today? I didn't see somebody to recognize. I talked to a lady, Darlene. I had a phone call. Some other Baptist group had a contact and gave it to me, so I called. I talked to her this week, and she said she's on the fence. She's on the fence. And as I talked to her, she was interesting. gal. I hope she comes someday. I'm going to try to follow up with her. But she was on the fence of like what to believe, to jump in or what not. And as I poked around, she didn't give me lots of answers. So I kept poking, like trying to figure out where she was coming from, how she thought. And as I got the feel of the things she said, the things she read a lot, she seeked a lot. But I can tell you right now, her main problem with why she's on the fence is because the lens that she reads stuff with is legalism. She feels condemned. She hasn't been able to throw off herself and just like fall into the arms of Jesus and feel completely and fully loved and saturated. You and I'm all of us, we have self-doubt, we have problems. We have problems. We need to read Scripture. We need to look at life. We need to look at people. We need to do everything through the lens of the eternal. Means it's from old to end. It's the truth of God. It's found in the cross, life, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ because He loves us. It's the good news about God. It's the good news that He's for us. He wants to save us. He's not holding our sins against us. You struggle with things, man, just jump into the gospel and be cleansed and be washed, and you mess up, you're still there. It's the good news. And it makes such a huge difference. So she had this lens of legalism. We got to put the lens of the gospel on. This message of the three angels' message, it's in the context of the gospel. I've seen too much Adventists, and even today, I have these words, I believe they make a difference. Our message about the beasts and about the problems and about the bad things of life, we must do it in the context of God is good and He is love. The reason we want to talk about the beast, I'm going to briefly talk a bit about that. The reason why we want to point these things out in the world is not because we want to say, shape up and you're bad. It's that this is the way it is. Please come because God is good and He wants to save us. Come to the Lord. Come find salvation. So it's the eternal gospel. This is the context. This angel is coming. This is like the final message to the planet. And in Revelation 18, we see the world illuminated, right, by this angel. Babylon is fallen. The gospel is about to go crazy with wildfire in the world. Why? Is because the world's falling apart and the things that people are holding on to and that are holding on to people, they're going to fall away and the gospel is going to go. You want to be a part of that? Yeah. I do. And we can be, we will be. The eternal gospel, this loud voice, eternal gospel to proclaim to those who all live on the earth, to every nation, tribe, language, and people. This is going to be a global, final preaching of God's good news. He said in a loud voice, fear God and give Him glory, because the hour of His judgment has come. We have Adventists, and if you don't know exactly what I'm talking about, ask me questions. Come talk to me about these things. I'd love to talk to you more and kind of unpack some of this stuff. We've believed, since 1844, we've lived in this kind of time of the end, a time of judgment, and that's true. And Ellen White talked about that's true, but then there's going to come a point where these three angel messages are going to be like preached in their fullness and in their climax of Earth's history. And I believe we're right there. This is where we're about to hit it. So, like I said earlier, we need to be appropriate and wise in how we say these things to people. The hour of judgment is coming. But why is it so important that people come to know God? Is because, folks, you see what's going on in the world today? All this stuff's going down. This is it. This is what God's Word has said. And I like the idea of judgment. What judgment is, and this is where we can think about, God's judgment is not condemnation. There's part of that. God's judgment is distinguishing between right and wrong. What's good and what's evil. When Christ died on the cross, His life and His death and His resurrection, His death on the cross was judgment, because the cross of Christ just cuts through the crud. The gospel cuts through it. It slices it, it divides it, because all those who are on the side of pride and arrogance and self are so horrible and arrogant and prideful and violent and abusive and oppressive that they would kill the Son of God. that just shows clearly what evil is. And it shows, like the life of Christ and the sacrifice of Christ shows very clearly what love and kindness and good and selflessness and self-sacrifice is. Amen? So we're living in a time where the fruit of evil is coming down, it's falling apart, it's unraveling. That's what's going on in the world today. God's judgment, all that is built on Babylon and anything that is not of God, is crumbling. And it's sad to me because people are hurting and fighting and bickering and slandering, and it's just all crazy because it's the fruit of a godless world. So these are the things, the themes that are happening. The distinction between good and evil is happening now, and those who have the love of God, who have the Spirit of God, are going to be, like I said, they're going to share the gospel, and we're going to preach the final word of the eternal gospel. The good news about God. It's going to be clear. People are going to have to make a choice. His judgment has come. And here it is. Worship Him who made the heavens, the earth, the sea, and the springs of water. Worship God. Worship the Savior. Reality is, and this I like the word reality because it's just the way it is, right? There's only one God, and He's good. And there's going to come a point where it's time. God and His Word, worship God. And, well, I'll just keep going. I'll say what I'm going to say here in a second. Fallen is Babylon. Another angel came and said, Fallen is Babylon the great, which made all the nations drink the maddening wine of her adulteries. Babylon is spiritual Babylon. It's little. The way I see Babylon, and we can talk about this, there's so much information we can talk about Babylon. But as I see what Babylon is it's the wrong kingdom. Right? It's all that is not founded based on Christ's kingdom. There's Jerusalem, that is God's people. There's the church that are the people of God who are it. And there's the false church, it's the government. It's everything that is not built on the foundation of Jesus Christ. And like I said, we're seeing the fruit of this falling down. It's falling down. It's fallen, it's because it's already fallen. But in the physical realm, it's falling down. Spiritually, it's all falling down. These messages are going to be very applicable. They are applicable today. A third angel followed him and said, in a loud voice, this is important, loud voice, if anyone worships the beast in this image and receives its mark on their forehead or on their hand, they too will drink the wine of God's Spirit, which has been poured out full strength in the cup of His wrath. Some thoughts. I said earlier, there's some as Adventists, I've seen our church, pound this, beast, the beast, or Sunday, the Sunday keepers, the Sunday worshipers, you're following the beast. You're bad, and hammer it. And what I fear, and it's the truth, is while we are preaching against the beast, we can receive the beast because that's the way the beast is oppressive, arrogant, unkind. And if we're preaching the message against the beast in a prideful, arrogant, controlling spirit, we have the mark of the beast. So the message to don't follow the beast is not because you're bad and you're doing it wrong. It's, please, this is, look at God's Word. Look at Christ died for you. Come to the Lord. Worship Jesus. Worship the Lord. Don't worship the beast. Worship the Lord. If we don't lift up Jesus, if we don't lift up the eternal gospel, if we don't show and act like the Lord, it doesn't do any good to preach against the beast. We have to lift up Jesus, lift up the gospel. This is in the context of salvation, of the gospel. It's good news not to worship the beast. Amen? The idea of forehead, that's the idea. You can either agree with the beast or you can act like the beast. You can receive the mark. And that goes, we believe in it's the Sunday. And it's a fascinating thing, and this is the words. I said last week, the Pope, we've identified, and it's not just us, Luther, it's scholars who identify the Dark Ages, and I also prideful and controlling and religious, and then it was supported by the power of the world, the political power. This union is a beast. It killed Jesus. The Dark Ages, it reigned, did horrible things, and it's come back upon the earth. And so, right now, there is so much stuff going on I don't have time to talk about. But I just want to briefly talk about the Pope, the system, religious system. The state is going to support, this movement that's coming upon the earth. And I've been thinking, trying to figure out and articulate, talking to Rach, and just some of the words and the ideas thematically. I think, more importantly, if you don't get the themes, and you get the details, we miss the point, right? So the themes is worship God, and we find God, the truth of God, in His Word. This is why God's Word is so important. Because what the Pope, I'll just say I don't want to be offended by these things. And I'm not condemning, the Pope. He's doing a lot of good. What I fear is that people were so anti-Pope that we can't communicate with people because it's like, well, the Pope's doing good stuff. He's trying to bring people together. He's trying to not condemn. He's trying to religions of the world. Let's come together. Let's not be condemning to each other. Let's not be prideful. Let's save the planet. All this stuff is good. It's good. But the problem is, and here is the problem, and this is the way the enemy works, is he might be doing a lot of good stuff, the truth, but it's not based on what God says. God says, and the three names of the message, the first name of the message is, God says, this world at a certain amount of time, and I called you, I came to you, I want you to come and be saved by my love and join the kingdom, join the character of Christ, the character of God. But you guys ignored me and did everything you wanted to do and went all your ways. And the Bible says that this world is going to go down and Jesus is going to come back and make a new heaven and a new earth. So what's happening very sneakily is it's either worship God or worship man, because all the stuff that's going to come upon right now is going to be good because it's going to be working in humanity, and it's going to stop with humanity. It's the worship of man. The mark of the beast is the mark that is the number of man. It's man without God. So what's coming upon the earth is going to be a lot of good stuff, and whether you're religious or unreligious, let's just come together and do good, but we're going to leave the Creator Savior out of it, and we're going to leave His Word out of it, and we're going to leave His commandments out of it. It's going to be man stuff. Does that make sense? That's thematic. I don't know exactly how it's going to go, but the theme is, are we going to stay? And that's when we talk to people. When you're dialoguing with people and maybe having a discussion, you don't have to say you're bad or whatever. Just say, what does God say? What does the Bible say? Yeah, all this stuff is good, and that's where I'm torn inside, because it's so sneaky in that it is good, but it's not exactly it's not God's truth. It leaves out God's truth while having a little bit of God's truth, right? This idea of wrath. Wrath, I asked the Lord to give me a picture of give me a good illustration of what wrath is. Because it's kind of God's wrath is kind of a hard, a little bit, at least for me, it's like, what does this mean? God's God eventually. Mean God, put on the eyes of the gospel. So what is God's wrath? Here's the image that maybe God gave me. It feels like maybe God gave me. It's like, and it's very scriptural, in Revelation we read that, God has been holding back the winds of strife, right? The corners of the earth, four corners of it. Been holding back the strife, and sin has been piling up. And there comes a point in history where God just sort of says, okay, and this is the image. It's like a family, a husband and wife who are selfish, prideful, living for themselves, abusive, who are legalistic. All the stuff that we could associate with evil. These parents are not good parents, and they keep having children. And they raise these children in this environment of oppression and abuse, and they have these kids, they grow up, and there's fighting, there's turmoil. And in God's mercy is He's holding back the consequences of sin. He's saying, come to me. God's mercy is restraining the full consequence of the passions of man, the passions of evil. And his mercy is holding back these people still keep having kids and keep abusing and keep having this evil growth, and these kids keep growing, and God's still holding back. And there's more and more kids that are growing and corrupted and abusive and angry, and God's holding it back, calling the parents, please come to me, please change your ways, please live in love, please learn from me, please be saved. And they don't listen, and they keep on their path. And there comes a point where God says, okay. And all of their breeding comes back upon them, and it's not going to be pretty. And that's what's happening now, and that's what's going to happen. God's wrath is the absence of his mercy. I heard from the world. They don't need to be lost. People don't need to be lost. God is calling to them, and we can call to people. God is right in his judgments because he's tried and he's worked and he's pleaded and he's longed for people to come and have salvation. This idea of they will be tormented with burning sulfur in the presence of the holy angels of the Lamb, and the smoke of their torment will rise forever and ever. There will be no rest or night for those who worship the beast and the image, or for anyone who receives the mark of his name. This is a description of what's going to happen. And again, what is going on here with torment and burning sulfur? It's like I said, when the Lord comes, it's all over. God doesn't want to torment people. That's just the way it's going to be. When God comes and people have rejected love and rejected kindness, it's going to be a bunch of yuck for them. It's not going to be God's fault. It's not the, you understand what I'm saying? It's just the way it is. They're going to be tormented and they're going to be destroyed. Not because God didn't try or want to love them, want to save them. And they're not going to smoke forever and ever. That just means they're going to be destroyed, and their destruction is forever. For all those who receive the mark. It's man's way. It's man without God. So with the enemy, with the beast power of the world, the church and state, in the name of God, it's going to be only man with a little bit of talk of religion and God. But if you look at God's commandments and God's word, it's not going to be on. And if you watch, the Pope is not talking about God's word. It's talking about worldly stuff and man stuff. And that, to me, is the death. That's the distinction. Man without God. Man without God. God wants to save me. This calls for patience, endurance, and power of the people of God who keep his command and have the faith of Jesus. This is where it is. God's word. God's commandments, God's word. We're true to God's word. We love the word giver. We love Christ because he's shown us. Worship him who made the heavens and the earth with the eternal gospel. We're going to worship the Creator Savior. He's the only one that can save us. And I told you last week, faith of Jesus is both faith in Jesus and also the faith of Jesus. We have faith in Jesus because he had faith. We have faith in Jesus because his faith was solid regardless. So we have the faith of Jesus, meaning I have faith in Jesus because his faith was concrete. He didn't fail. He was faithful. Where I am unfaithful, he was faithful. I have faith in his faithfulness. Hallelujah. And the commandments of God, through Christ, it said, love God with all your heart, love each other, right? Love each other as I loved you. This is the commandments of God. That's the two great ones, and it is in harmony with the Ten Commandments. It's in harmony with all of his teachings in Scripture. The commandments of God. The commandments of God. We are obedient to Jesus because he was obedient to death. He loves us. It's a covenant with the Creator, with the Maker. It's not arbitrary, it's just the way it is. Back to Genesis. I gotta kind of say these things. The serpent, back to Genesis 1, right? The serpent was more crafty than any wild animals the Lord God had made. He said to the woman, what did he say to the woman? Did God really say, this is the deception of the devil? He's like, nah, don't worry about what God says. Or sleight of hand, trickery, deceptively. Focus on all the good stuff. God, God knows if you eat this fruit, your eyes will be open and all this good stuff. You are the one that can decide good and evil. It doesn't matter if you believe this or believe that or do this or this or this or this. It doesn't matter. Let's just come together because we're all God's children. It doesn't matter what he says. This is very sneaky. Hope you're tracking here. Maybe if you're looking at what's going on when it comes, the deception is not that things aren't going to be good as far as in the realm of the world and man's way. The problem is that it's not what God said. It's not following God's word. Some of the darkest, worst history in the history of Israel, darkest times was the time of Judges, right? You've heard these things. In those days, there was no king in Israel, and everybody did what is right in their own eyes. This is the result of the enemy's ultimate trick, and we see it very loudly in pop culture. And we see it, I talk to people, people are spiritual, and that's the hard thing, because it's not bad that people want to be spiritual and kind of have their own way. But the problem when the king is not Jesus, when the king is not rightly God, and the Savior, when it's not flowing down from the Lord, everybody kind of has their own version, right? And it's okay to have that today. That's kind of the enemy. It's the culture, that's the climate of our culture right now, with young people, right? I mean, young people, am I speaking right? That's kind of the way it is. It's like, it's okay, you just have your own thing, it's okay. And in some ways, it is okay. But if you don't have the Lord of the heavens and earth, being God, is coming down and flowing from Him, then the version of right and wrong changes, and the problem is, eventually, it's going to end up what the world is like today. People fighting with each other, people prideful, people angry with each other. That's the result. It doesn't go good. We need a king. Not an earthly king, a spiritually heavenly king. The true king, the only king, God, Christ. Now I'm going to go into chapter 6 of Luke. Because the question is, and this is the ideas I'm trying to put in your mind as I've been thinking about, what is the distinction between the kingdom of God, the king, and I was listening to a sermon, I thank the Lord, because if I just had these thoughts, and then I listened to a sermon, Tim Keller. You know Tim Keller? He wrote Prodigal God. He's very, very thoughtful. Podcast. I've listened to a few of his. And I heard a podcast, and it's like, it helped me organize some of my thoughts. And he spoke from Luke chapter 6. And he associated the kingdom of God. What is the kingdom of God? And then he talked about a few of these principles that I'm going to share with you. Because, the Lord's coming, the judgments of God are here, the world's falling apart. And what do we do? How do we organize our thoughts? Jesus says some things very clearly that we'll go through. A distinction between principles of the kingdom and principles of the world. And he associated like the king. What is God's kingdom? And he associated with a coach. Like a university coach or an NBA coach or NFL, whatever. A sports coach. He said, when a new coach comes into an organization, it's not a democracy, he's the king, right? The coach gets to say what's going to happen, and people fall in line and do what the coach says. And you have a good coach, you have one, right? The team works well together. If the coach is well and has good principles and is a good leader and is a good kingdom, his kingdom works well, right? And you can take a mediocre team that's maybe not super athletic, and you get a good coach and get these guys working together in teamwork, and the kingdom is good, works together. You have a bad coach, right? You have somebody that harbors contention or however it goes. And I've had coaches through the years, some have been good, so I know this from experience. A good coach makes such a huge difference. The kingdom. God's kingdom are all those who are under the rule of Christ. The rule of God, who are doing it God's way, who are following God's ways, His rules, how He set it up. Right? And if you look at the world today, if it's the world, who's your king, do whatever, who's your king, whatever. The fruit of the day is the team's not working very good together. Would you agree with that? that, the world today? That's because they don't have the King. They don't have King Jesus. So how do we, how does the government, how does King Jesus rule his government? And again, it is exemplified so beautifully in the life of Christ, who is God, who served us. He served us, and he tells us to serve one another. And ultimately, he laid down his life for us. The good coach, the good king, he gave himself to us. And he says this is the principle that the kingdom is based on. It's love and kindness and humility and service. And here we go, some kingdom principles in Luke. Looking at his disciples, these are some things that follow Matthew 5. And as I read, some scholars and people believe that Luke is speaking about the same thing as Matthew was. But I kind of lean towards, I think Jesus preached the Sermon on the Mount more than just once. Amen? Like these are the principles. And he went all our places, preaching the same thing, maybe a little different way. So Luke, we get a little different twist, a little different words. And it's all saying the same thing. It's all expounding what we're learning. So here's kind of the Beatitudes and woes. The woes are like the world, and the blessing is the kingdom of God. And I like what Tim Keller said. He says the woes, when we see the woes, we're about to see some woes here. It's not like a curse. It's not saying you curse bad people. He's saying, how unfortunate for you that these are the principles you're living by. You know, how terrible it is for you that I have so much for you, but you're choosing worldly things over heavenly kingdom things. It's like, I'm sorry, how lousy is this for you? Woe to you. But looking at his disciples, he said, blessed are the poor, for yours is the kingdom of heaven. He says, blessed are you who are poor. In Matthew, what does Jesus say in Matthew? Remember? Blessed are the poor in spirit. And I like what Luke says, and Luke, and maybe Jesus said this, saying Jesus' words. He didn't add the poor in spirit because sort of fundamentally, the physical, if you're physically poor, if you're physically needy, that's kind of a natural result where you're poor in spirit. Maybe not all the time, but the point is clear. Is that those who are fundamentally needy and humble and don't have power and wealth, the fundamental principles of the gospel is that we have to be poor in spirit. And Tim says you're not a Christian if you haven't seen the need you have for the Lord. You're not a Christian if you haven't recognized that the amount of blessing that you received in Christ, the amount of forgiveness that you received by the blood of Jesus shed on the cross, the amount of undeserved amazingness that you received in Christ, and if that doesn't crush your heart, if you don't acknowledge that and you have a poor spirit and a grateful spirit, you're not a Christian. So Jesus is blessed to the poor in spirit. Meaning, if you have a needy soul, if you need the Lord, if you are fundamentally submissive and humble as Christ was, the kingdom of heaven is yours. And this is beautiful news because the people that Jesus was talking to, and actually I had thoughts, it's interesting. The news and the government and the politics and the corporations, right? These are kind of like people in power. And in this day it would be the Romans and the tax collectors and the Pharisees and religious leaders. It's like, we see this kind of the world's kings of the earth and the powers of the earth. And Jesus speaks against that. And then that's what we see today. I mean, it's happening. It's falling apart. It's crumbling. But then there's a whole bunch of people. Right? And I have a sense that while we see all this bickering and horribleness in politics and government and corporations are falling and it's just all going crazy, there's a bunch of people, right? And that's where you and I come in. There's a bunch of people out there that are kind of lost and like need a shepherd, need a king. And we can come in and give them the good news. And we can come in with a poor in spirit attitude, a humble, kind heart, and people are looking for something and they can find a home of people that actually care and actually have the Spirit of God. Beautiful. Blessed are the poor in spirit. Blessed are the poor, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. This is what the kingdom of heaven is about. It's fundamentally submissive. You go and and meet with people with no agenda to take anything from them or oppress them or condemn them. You come in the spirit of Christ, which is, I'm going to die for you if that's what it takes for you to be saved. But people have come too often in the spirit of hiding. I have something to give you. I have something to show you. Right? Blessed are the poor. For theirs, what's the opposite? I'm going to skip verses kind of back and forth. He contrasts. Jesus liked to teach, and he's contrasting the difference between the kingdom of God and the principles of the kingdom of the world. He says, but woe to you who are rich, for you have already received your comfort. Jesus is saying if riches and success and wealth is your motivation in life, and you've put your heart into life to get wealth and money, and you receive comfort, and you're like, Jesus is saying, if that's what your heart, your goal is, then all you're going to get is, that's what you're going to receive. That's all you have. You've already received all that you're going to get. That's terrible. It's sad. Blessed are you who hunger now, for you will be satisfied. In Matthew, blessed are those who hunger for righteousness. The hunger and thirst for righteousness. To be right with God. To live right. To do right. To be right. To follow God's goodness. And that comes from a humble spirit, right? Fundamentally, a humble spirit wants and desires to do what's right. And I like that he kind of leaves out the spiritual part, even though it means spiritual things. When you're hungry or hangry, what do you need to do? Is it hard to find food? That's like your number one thing, right? When you're hungry and you need food, what's your number one priority? Eat. You need some food, you got to get some food. When you're hungry, you're going to get what you need. You're going to get it, and this is why it's so important. Blessed are those who hunger, because when you're hungry for something, you go and get it. You go and get it. And Jesus is saying, when you're hungry and thirst for righteousness, when you're hungry and you're looking for it, your desire, he says there's a blessing, because you know what? When you're hungry and you look, and how does it feel when you're hungry and you're just like super hungry and you eat something you like? Yeah? It's good. Same thing, and over, that's why with God's Word. God's Word is the bread of life, right? If you're hungry and thirsty for righteousness, for goodness, and you go and you participate, and you read God's Word, and you contemplate the gospel, and you're like mind saturated, like the dawning of God's goodness is dawning over you, have you experienced how satisfying that is? It's just wonderful. Blessed are those who are hungry, because then you can be satisfied. He says, woe to you who are well fed now, for you will go hungry. You know, my heart breaks for the world, because I know I empathize, my own spirit of what it looks like when you maybe are going down a road and you have fears of maybe or whatever. Or at least imagine what it feels like to be abandoned by God. Thankfully, he says, I'll never leave you. That's where we have to focus on. I'll never leave you or forsake you. But just the imagining of the abandonment. And the Word says that there's going to come a time where there's going to be a famine, not for bread, but for the Word of God. And I believe we're at that time. It's like God's Word has strived with humanity. And the Lord has pleaded with humanity and pleaded with humans, you and I. And there comes a time where it's done, where it's all over. There's no more food to be taken. There's no more food. It's so sad. Woe to those who their whole life is just seeking to be satisfied and doing whatever it is, hungry and filling the soul with lousy things. It's very sad. Blessed are those who weep now, for they will laugh. I've experienced lately what it is to weep, what it is to need, for they will laugh. And this word, Greek word, actually, Tim Keller said it, and I looked at both the woe and the laugh. Listen a little bit, maybe Jesus is speaking here. This word laugh in Greek possibly means a little bit, it's like flirting with gloating. to weep now. I've experienced what it is to weep and to need and to hurt, but you know what happens in this world when you're hurting and needing? It's that you need the Lord like never before. Jesus is saying, you're blessed because when you struggle in this life and you have things that are hurting for, blessed are you because you're looking to something that transcends your pain and suffering. And when you actually go through and you hang on to the Lord, there's a switch that comes, and I want to just share a quick story. Won't you laugh now, or you will mourn and weep? This idea of, this is, you see in politics, scoffing below, it's like, ha ha ha, I win. Look at me in my castle. Look at me in my good argument. Look at me, ha 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 ha, I'm winning. And the idea of spiritually that Jesus maybe is flirting with, the idea of weeping out and gloating. I think I told you the story before. Real quick, I want to share it. I worked at a juvenile center for a year when Rachel was in school, in seminary, out in Michigan. I worked in a juvenile center for a year. And there was this man, kind of young man, short, stocky, and he was haughty, kind of prideful, and I was totally different than him. My way, sometimes I err maybe being too nice, or I had a hard time with laying down the law, where he was tough and he liked to lay down the law, and I struggled, and I wanted to be kind to kids, but I learned how to maybe have some boundaries God was teaching me. And this man, Mr. Lovejoy, I think it was Mr. Lovejoy was his name, and there was times where he liked to belittle me because I was soft, right? I was soft, and I didn't, do it like he did, and so he would belittle me and kind of put me down in front of other kids. It was not good. And then the day came where I was in the dining room with kids, and there was one kid that was acting up, and I was trying to get him to do something, and he wasn't listening, and he wasn't being obedient, and then Mr. Lovejoy thought this would be a good time to say, you might not listen to Mr. Griebel, but you're going to listen to me. And the kid was still being, then he was even got worse, more belligerent. And so this other guy, Mr. Lovejoy, he was like, I'll show you. He took his staff shirt off. This guy was too crazy. Took his shirt off and went over and he got in his face, like, you're going to do what I say. And the kid's like, no, And then they got in a little tussle, and then the guy wrestled and kind of slammed him on the table there, and wrestled around, and then it broke up. And then there had to be, it was all on camera. There was cameras going around. And then this kid and his family pressed charges on Mr. Lovejoy, and the staff, the administration of the juvenile center, talked to me, talked to all the witnesses. They had to go to court, and the prosecutors, they were after the family, they were after the juvenile center and after Mr. Lovejoy because of what he did. They had video and everything, and it was all there. And guess who stood on the platform as a witness? Mr. Griebel. And I was merciful. I had the chance. I saw all the way. I knew Mr. Lovejoy was inappropriate, but I saw it. He didn't slam the kid. I didn't feel like he needed to have his life ruined because he was stupid. So I was merciful. I could have just laid it. I could have damned Mr. Lovejoy. And I think that's what Jesus is saying a little bit, right? With this. If you stay true to the kingdom, if you stay true and kind and humble, there are going to be those who oppose you, but the tables are going to be turned. All the bad stuff, all the bad people, all the oppressive, abusive people, the tables are going to be turned. And while we might suffer and weep now, there's coming a time when King Jesus is going to make it all right. Hallelujah. Yes, hallelujah. And it's not a couple more texts. Blessed are you when people hate you, when you are excluded. Blessed are the poor, blessed are the hungry, blessed are those who weep, blessed are those who are excluded. These are principles of the kingdom. Blessed are when people hate you, when you exclude you, when insult you, and reject you. His name is evil, or his name is bad, or his name is like you're a nuisance. Because of the Son of Man. We don't seek this stuff, that's not good. But this is what's happening because you're staying true to the kingdom. It says, rejoice in that day and live for joy, because great is the reward in heaven. For that is how their ancestors treated the prophets. prophets. And I thought about this. Seems kind of strange a little bit. And I prayed, and I was like, Lord, what does this mean? Here's what it means. It means when you're excluded or mistreated, rejoice. It doesn't mean rejoice because that's what's happening, because who wants to be mistreated? Rejoice because you are counted with the ones who all along will stay true to the King of Heaven. Rejoice because the world is mistreating you. Don't rejoice because you're being mistreated. Rejoice that your name is counted with those who are faithful to the Lord. Because this is the way it goes. The world is going to mistreat you. But if you stay true, great is your reward in heaven. You might be suffering, but if you stay true to the Lord, your reward is not in this earth, it's heaven, spiritual, and eternal. Woe to you when anyone speaks well of you, for that is the ancestry tree of the false prophets. Yeah. Are we seeking fame and notoriety and self-seeking? These are principles of the kingdom. But woe to you, but to you who are listening, I say, love your enemies. So he goes through these principles. Woe to the Pharisees. He says, but to those who are listening, I say, this is completely upside down to the world's way, right? Love your enemies. Democrats, Republicans, anybody, social media people, love your enemies. Do good to those who hate you. Bless those who curse you. Pray for those who mistreat you. Jesus continues, I don't have time to go through, and then he says, those of you who listen to my words, he says this right after this, he says, you who call me Lord, Lord. We say, Lord, Lord. We know God. Lord, Lord. He says, why don't you do what I say? We need to order our lives, and as examples of Christ, when the world is doing what it's doing now, the Lord needs people who are doing what the Lord says, who are kind and loving and representing the Lord well. Who is your king? Who is your coach? Who is the one that you're getting your ideas from, who we're ordering our lives around? Jesus says, those of you who listen to my words and follow them are like a man who built his house on a rock, on a solid foundation. And when the torrents come, his house stands firm. It's his life. It's our lives. The unwise just build their house on whatever, do as you will, whatever you please. And didn't have a strong foundation. And when the torrent came, the house was blown down. A torrent is here in the world today. A torrent is coming. Build your life on King Jesus. Amen. May our King be the Lord. And may we represent him and have other people come to his kingdom of love and kindness. Let's sing.
We invite you to stand with us as we sing our final song.
Love
grounded and rooted in your word. And Lord, I ask in your name for a blessing upon each person here. Lord, anoint us with your Spirit. Lord, give us wisdom. Lord, help us to know how to communicate with those we care about. Give us words in our mouth. And maybe be submissive, maybe not have a spirit of pride and desire to say our thing, but be able to listen in your way to share these important truths. Lord, we want to worship you because you are worthy of our worship. May you be our King. And Lord, we see in Acts that when we were in one accord, when we were loving and kind and submissive to each other, your Spirit filled the disciples, and many were added. So I pray that there would be a spirit of unity here. May your gospel reign. May your eternal gospel reign among us. May you be our King, and may the team here, may your team work well together. And may you use our team for your glory. It's my prayer and our prayer in your name, Jesus. Amen. Have a blessed day.